All right, the left has tried to cancel our next guest many times and failed. We're joined now by Florida Congressman Matt Gaetz. Sir, good to see you.
Thanks for having me, Rob. I say let's cancel Joe Biden's immigration policies before we cancel Dr. Seuss and Mr. Potato Head.
Yeah, no kidding. What immigration policy? I think the border's just wide open. We're going to get to all that here in a little bit. But first, Congressman, I want to show you a tweet here from Kamala Harris, 2017. Happy birthday, Dr. Seuss. The more you read, the more things you will know. The more that you learn, the more places you'll go. Proof right here of how fast cancel culture, this beast that we have, evolves. Just how bad do you think this is going to get?
Well, if big tech and big media and big corporations can team up to cancel the president of the United States, as they did in the final weeks of Donald Trump's presidency, then they can do it to any of us. And my concern, Rob, is that while we're able to joke about the absurdity of these things tonight, each and every day, Americans have to decide whether or not to self-censor, to self-cancel, right, to maybe not fly their America First flag at full but rather half-mast. And I think that that's really the goal of the left, to cause us to be less expressive about our love for our country and our values.
Couldn't agree more. You spoke at CPAC this past weekend about being canceled. Let's take a listen.
The woke corporations turned around and canceled us. Many Fortune 100 companies will not donate to pro-Trump Republicans. Some have even pulled their sponsorships of this conference. American business should be worried about business, not wokeism.
It really is something else how they've gotten businesses to go along with this, and they've put this fear, this small faction of our society has put this fear into everybody.
And if the Democrats want to be in common cause with big business, I think we ought to tell big business not to let the door hit them on the way out the door, on the way out of our movement. I'm the only Republican in Congress who doesn't take any PAC money from special interests. I don't take donations from lobbyists. So I canceled them before they could cancel me. But it says a lot about where corporate America is heading, that they're not donating to pro-Trump Republicans, and they're instead using their politics to advance values that ultimately will destroy them, will lead to socialism and communism, in the end to a free market system that has built prosperity and wealth in our country unlike any society of humans ever before.
Yeah, it's a good point. I mean, watching the White House right now, they're pandering to all of this. You know, they came out, I mean, everything that they do kind of moves in this direction. They're fine with this. That's really scary, isn't it?
I think it's because Joe Biden ultimately knows that he is a man of a different generation. He has to be trained and well-studied to be a woke-topian of the likes that are accepted by today's Democratic Party. It's why you see a growing Twitter mob called the K-Hive that seek to go out and enforce social justice against those that they think aren't sufficiently accommodating of every identity, every gender, and every way to divide Americans rather than uniting us. Remember, the magic of Donald Trump is that he had an invitation to everyone that was welcoming. Put our country first, put our people first. That's something we've got to remember as Republicans reconstitute for coming elections, that dividing the country and slicing and dicing different groups and having a specific message for left-handed Eskimos is less of an effective political strategy than one that invites all Americans to a unified banner.
Your committee tweeted out today, Ranking Member Jim Jordan calls on Representative Jerry Nadler to hold first full committee hearing on cancel culture. I suspect Jerry Nadler is not going to have much interest in this. What do you think?
Well, Jerry Nadler doesn't always take our advice on committee hearings in the Judiciary Committee, but this is a real thing, Rob, and right now it's about the flow of information. But what happens when the financial sector is impacted by the cancel culture? What happens when, as a consequence of the political donations you've made or the Facebook posts you've made, you've got different opportunities to get a loan or a credit card or a bank account? I'm worried that we're heading in that direction. And as I see entities like Bank of America handing over their records to the FBI to pursue MAGA, it is increasingly troubling to me that we seem to see a unity of common purpose in big government and big business to try to squelch patriotic populism in our great country.
All right. And, you know, cancel culture, it's in politics, too. Democrats right now trying to use the Capitol riot to cancel conservative voices. You're raising concerns about retired Lieutenant General Russel Honoré, who Nancy Pelosi has appointed to look into the riot. Let's take a listen.
They are worried that they will lose their white power. They don't like the browning of America. It took the sheet off a bunch of people proclaiming themselves to be conservatives, and what they are racist. We have an opportunity now with all three branches of government to do something about it.
This guy doesn't sound nonpartisan.
Yeah, all conservatives are racist. Capitol Police are traitors. Don Jr. belongs in jail. Congresswoman Lauren Boebert should be on a no-fly list. And Senator Josh Hawley should be disbarred. Those were the conclusions that General Honoré came to even before being appointed to look at this security review. It's my deep concern that this is part of Nancy Pelosi's effort to try to use January 6th to tar anyone who supported President Trump or his policies or ideas, or anyone who wanted to have a realistic discussion and debate about election integrity and the validity of the vote in states that I don't think ran clean elections.
Yeah. Let's switch gears here for a second. Texas Governor Greg Abbott today made a big announcement. They're going to open up the state, fully open. Mississippi following suit. We're going to speak with the governor of that state later in the show. It seems like Florida has been a great model for all of this. What's going to happen to the blue states if red states start to slowly open?
Well, in Florida, our great sunshine isn't just welcome to those beachgoers that come to our warm sands, but it's also a beacon of freedom, as Governor DeSantis reminds all Americans. And in Florida, we led the way. We put our people first. We protected the elderly, but we didn't deprive students of the ability to reignite schooling and learning. We didn't have these lockdowns not based on science that went on for months and months. And the result is that more and more of America wants to have the Florida experience, not the New York or California experience.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's wonderful down there in Florida right now. I can attest to that. Finally, Neera Tanden, Biden's nominee for the OMB. We've talked about this for a couple weeks now. It's been withdrawn. She's not going to do it. She's saying there's no path forward for her nomination. She spent a lot of time ripping Republicans and even Bernie Sanders on Twitter. Do you think she deserved to be boxed out?
I don't think anyone should be canceled for mean tweets, but if you tweet that Lisa Murkowski is getting high on her own supply, it might make a meeting where you seek her vote in a nomination a bit awkward, Rob. And I would think that with Ms. Tanden, perhaps some of these challenges could have been foreseen, but ultimately it's her ideas about federal spending, her ignoring of the challenges and the risk of a growing federal deficit and debt that trouble me more than a hot moment online. As you may know, Rob, I've had a mean tweet or two in my own day, and I wouldn't want to be judged for my worst moment online. Want to be judged based on my greatest contribution to America.
That's well put. And yeah, Neera Tanden, who did she like? She had such a bizarre list of people she hated. I mean, Susan Collins, Murkowski, the moderates, Bernie Sanders. I mean, she went after a lot of strange birds. It was interesting to watch. Congressman Matt Gaetz, state of Florida, thanks so much for taking the time.
Thank you, Rob.
All right.
This is Congressman Matt Gaetz. If you like that video, make sure you like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on social media, and join us on our daily podcast, Hot Takes with Matt Gaetz, on your favorite podcast listening platform.